What's up, guys? I'm John.
I'm Ben.
We're from the band Blackstone Cherry.
You are watching Guitar Mania Channel.
You are right in the middle of the tour, actually, and you have still some gigs left in Europe. How is it going so far?
It's awesome. Excuse me. We've actually been really surprised because we don't have a new album out yet, and we're coming over here. Normally, we wouldn't be over here this early prior to an album release, so we were a little hesitant. Like, what are these shows going to be like? You know, feels like we were just here. You know, yeah. And people are coming out still just to see us play, and it's pretty amazing. We played here at the same venue in 2014, and we played a different venue. I can't remember what it's called, but several years ago.
Okay.
But Austria is a great place. We've done festivals here and our own shows. And
you played at Nova Rock Festival,
yeah, Nova
I
Rock.
think, 2 years
Great
ago.
festival.
Yeah. What is your musical background? So let's start with you, John. What were your first 3 albums which you was really into? What were your first bands which you were into?
When I was a kid, I mean, I think it's true with everybody that has ever gotten into playing music. You kind of like lean on what your parents were into at first. For me, it was like Ted Nugent, AC/DC, Elton John. I mean, just a whole plethora of classic rock music. My mom is really the one that got me into like Led Zeppelin, you know, things like that. But yeah, for me, just as a kid, it was just everything that my parents were into. I mean, thankfully they had good musical taste. Otherwise, you never know what I'd be playing musically today.
Okay. So I also got influenced by the parents, actually. So
yeah.
that's cool. Yeah. And you?
Elvis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's my number one. He's what made me get into music. My biggest influence of all time. And then Aerosmith is my favorite band of all time.
Okay.
So that's what really, Elvis really flipped the trigger and made me want to just get into music and entertainment, the whole deal.
Were you both starting with the instrument which you actually playing now, so with guitar and bass, or do you have some other lessons in other instruments?
For me, it was always guitar. I've always just been drawn to the guitar, I guess just the way it looks and it's cool, and you know, it's, I don't know, that's always what I've been kind of just drawn to, so I've always played the guitar.
Okay.
I first started playing piano.
Oh,
I
okay.
took piano lessons for a couple years in schools, and then I started playing drums and like drumline and all that stuff. Then I started playing guitar, and then eventually found myself playing bass. You know?
Okay, so you went through the whole section.
Anything that makes a sound, I'm cool with trying.
Okay.
Yeah.
You are releasing your 5th studio album, Kentucky, on April the 1st.
Yeah.
Make sure you check it out. We would like to know if the audience could wait for any major differences so regarding to the last albums.
This album is by far our heaviest album.
Okay.
It's our heaviest riff-heavy album. It's cool because we got to self-produce this one. We did it all on our own. We recorded it in Glasgow, Kentucky, which is where I'm from and still live. The rest of the guys live in another town just a few minutes away.
Okay.
But we did our first album there in 2005.
Okay.
So it was really cool to kind of, this being our 5th album, to kind of bring it full circle and after recording in California and Tennessee for past albums, to kind of come back home, basically. And to do it there is to kind of get that rejuvenation of the spirit we had when we first started, you know. Kind of a back to basics approach, so to speak. And we've taken the knowledge we've gotten from doing other albums with other producers, we've kind of taken that, picked out the things that we liked, and you know, and just did it ourselves, you know.
Okay.
We know what our fans are going to like, and we know what we're going to be proud of. I think they're really going to enjoy this album because it's really based around the energy that we like to have when we play live.
How was actually the songwriting process, or mainly how is your songwriting process going? Are you writing the songs, or is it Chris doing it, or yeah?
It's always been the 4 of us. We always write songs together equally. I think that's part of the trick to the reason why we're still, you know, the original lineup. You know, since 2001, it's been the 4 of us. You know, and we've always done everything together. as much as we possibly can. It's the four of us always getting together and, kind of butting heads until we work the part out. But we'll write on the bus, we'll write at the practice house in Kentucky where we've always written and all that. Anywhere we can get together and sit down and like really hash out a song, we will. Each one of us will kind of come up with our own ideas here and there and kind of just throw them all together in a pot and make it work.
Is it harder to now write albums so for the fifth songs for the fifth album now, or is it like going?
I think we're always coming up with stuff,
Yeah.
And with this album, there was a couple songs that we got to use that were written in the past that we're really excited we finally got to pull them back out and release them now. But for us, we were just excited about this album because it was with a new label. We knew we were going to do it ourselves, so we had a lot of just creative juices flowing and a little more confidence, going into this one, knowing what we wanted to create, and so it was fairly simple.
Talking about albums, you also recorded the live album in 2007, and I read actually two amazing things about this. So you recorded the album during the concert, and then right after the concert, you already sold it to the people.
Yeah.
How did you manage this?
It was I can't remember what the company was called, but it was on our first UK headlining tour in 2007, and the company approached us. We played the Astoria in London, and they said, hey, we want to do it. We're going to make 1,000 copies, and literally you'll play the show, fans can buy it as soon as they leave, cover and all. And we thought it was great, So that one's kind of rare now because there's only a limited of them made, so people are trying to find theirs and get hands on it, But it's pretty neat. And then we did a live DVD CD in 2014. We recorded it in 2014, and it just came out October of last year.
Okay.
So there's some good live Blackstone Cherry out there.
Because actually this was the second thing which I saw, that you had a limited edition of this live album, and I believe in 2013 some albums of this was selling on Amazon for $200 actually.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Are you expecting also from this album maybe like going this way?
You never expect anything like that, I mean, it's just you're very grateful that people out there would spend that much on an album, but you never expect it. You never know how anything's really going to go,
What are you using on stage and also in the studio? Is it somehow the same, or do you use some special things in studio or on stage?
For me, I can answer both those in one. Whatever I use on stage is what's in the studio, especially on this last album and the first album, which is cool. But it's Les Pauls through PV 5150 or 6505, whichever one you want to call it. But that's what I use live. And the only exception in the studio is I used a Paul Reed Smith baritone guitar and like a Gretsch or a Telecaster for a certain sound,
Mm-hmm.
But it's important for us Chris is the same way, to use our live rigs in the studio because you want to make your own signature sound, so to speak. So you don't want two different things,
Yeah,
you want it to sound great live and on the record.
In terms of pedals and effects, what should you use there?
We just brought our pedals from our live rigs, which is just a few things like a sub-octave fuzz, and then of course a wah-wah and a phase 90 and maybe a delay. But we try not to get too effect crazy because we don't want to, overproduce the sounds. We want them to be as raw. But if a song calls for a certain effect, like a tremolo or an octave or something, then we'll put it in there. But it's just whatever we use live.
And you, what are you using?
I use Dean Hillsborough singles. It's kind of like a Stingray or a Sterling, and then Ampeg SVT VRs, vintage reissue. Use those live and in the studio, use it on the new record. Pedals, just a couple fuzzes. I got a Dunlop Bass Fuzz Deluxe, the MXR. Then EBS makes the Fuzzmo, and EBS makes a ton of awesome bass effects pedals. Other than that, it's just tuner. I got the Ampeg DI, the new Ampeg DI. It's almost like a front-loaded amp in a DI. I just run through the through of it and use it for a secondary sound, just for blended tones.
Just a quick question: ever thought of maybe switching to these camper racks?
No. I know they're really great. I having an amp on stage. You know,
Okay.
I love the sound. I love having the natural amp. I know you can get the sound of it and all that, you know, but to me, some of that stuff's just kind of over my head personally, and I just like the simplicity of having an amp right there.
Okay. So you're also loving the sound on stage, so you don't want to kill it actually completely because some
Right.
guitarists just turn the cabinets away.
Yeah,
and then,
I don't like doing that. Sometimes I'll pull my in-ears out. I just go off the sound from the stage, and I love that.
Just sit right behind them.
Right.
Cool. Do you have any other plans which will come now in the future? So maybe which I thought a live DVD or something else which is maybe coming up?
I think all we've got coming up is just touring, you know, touring in the U.S. We'll go to Australia in June, come back to the U.K. to headline a festival in July, and then we'll come back to Europe at the end of the year. They're still working out the schedule, but you know, once the album comes out, we'll be, you know, out there just promoting it and doing what we do.
You played already with some more or less famous bands actually, like you supported Def Leppard, Nickelback and so on. And so do you have any advice for young bands actually to really have this goal of getting to this point?
Don't be afraid to be original. Just
Yeah.
because somebody sounds cool and you're into a particular band, you don't have to sound like that. You know, draw influences from anything and everything you possibly can, but create your own unique individual sound.
Yeah, I would
That's
say
the biggest thing.
definitely be yourself and just have some confidence. You know, not you don't want to have an ego. There's a difference. You know, you want to have self-confidence and knowing that if somebody says, "Well, your band sucks," like we were told many times growing up, we still were like, "Whatever, we're gonna do this. And this is what we're gonna do." And that's what we did. We really just didn't set any other backup plan. We said, "This is what we want to do. We love doing this, and we'll do whatever we got to do to make this work."
Actually, it works for at least now 15 years. So
Yeah.
It's we're lucky, man. We're very blessed.
looking forward to tonight's show and wish you the best for the rest of the tour.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
yeah, have fun.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you, buddy.
Thanks, bro.